Round the World Lit Audio. The Great Gatsby by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Episode 2. Chapters 3 and 4. Full narration script. Channel intro. Welcome to Around the World Lit Audio, the greatest novels ever written, from every corner of the world, in English. New chapter every week, free to listen. Chapter recap. In Episode 1, Nick Carraway arrived in West Egg, Long Island, renting a small house next to an enormous mansion. He visited his cousin Daisy Buchanan on East Egg, where Tom Buchanan was large and certain and had a woman in New York. The Valley of Ashes lay between Long Island and Manhattan, gray, ashen, watched over by the faded eyes of Dr. Eckelberg. Tom took Nick to Wilson's garage where Myrtle was vital and excessive and trapped. The apartment party ended with a broken nose. And twice, at the end of Dace's dock across the bay, at the end of his own dock, Nick saw a figure reaching toward a green light. Episode 2. Chapters 3 and 4. Chapter 3. Gatsby's Party. There was music from my neighbor's house through the summer nights. This is how Chapter 3 begins, with the music first, before the guests, before the food, before the specific catalogue of excess, that Fitzgerald delivers in the next several pages, with the relish of someone who has attended these parties and paid close attention. The parties at Gatsby's house happened every weekend. They happened with the specific logic of spectacles, organized for one person who does not attend them, or who attends them as a ghost attends a party, present and invisible, watching from the edges while the guests consume what he has provided. Gatsby's parties were for Daisy, though Daisy never came. They were a beacon, a demonstration, a way of saying, "Look what I have become, look what I have made. Come across the bay and see." The guests came, hundreds of them, by train, by automobile, by ferry. They came without invitation, many of them, because Gatsby's parties were the kind of parties to which invitation was not required, to which the only qualification was the ability to appear and the willingness to consume. They came and they ate, the salads, the hams, the pastry pigs, the turkeys bewitched to a dark gold. They drank, from a bar stocked with gin and liquors and champagne, that arrived by the case. They danced on the canvas dance floor laid over the garden. They made and lost friendships in the space of an evening. They speculated about their host. Who was Gatsby? This is the question the parties generated, the central mystery the novel constructs around its central character, the question that the guests asked each other while consuming his food and drinking his liquor. He was a German spy. He was a killer. He had once killed a man. He was the nephew of von Hindenburg. He was a cousin of the Kaiser. Nobody knew. The rumors accumulated with the specific energy of rumors, about a person who provides everything and explains nothing. Nick received an invitation, an actual invitation, hand-delivered, which distinguished him from most of the guests. He went. He wandered the party feeling the specific discomfort of someone who does not know anyone, and is trying to look as though this is a choice rather than a circumstance. He found Jordan Baker, the cool golfer from Dace's dinner table, slightly more knowable than the anonymous hundreds surrounding them. Then a man spoke to him, a man of about his own age, with a smile that was one of those rare smiles, with a quality of eternal reassurance in it, that you may come across 4 or 5 times in life. A smile that concentrated on you, with an irresistible prejudice in your favor. It said, "I understand you exactly as you wish to be understood." The man said, "I believe we're neighbors." He said, "I'm Gatsby." Nick had been talking to Gatsby without knowing it. Had been standing next to him? Gatsby had been at his own party without announcing himself, without the self-presentation that a host usually performs, moving through the spectacle as though he were an interested bystander rather than its architect. He was tan, handsome, formal in his address, calling Nick old sport with the specific affectation of someone who has learned that phrase from somewhere, and has adopted it as a social tool. He did not drink. He watched. He was, in a way that Nick could sense, but not quite articulate, performing something. Then he was called away to a phone call. Then another. The parties always ended the same way, with the music stopping and the food cleared and the cars backing into the darkness, and the lawn left with the wreckage of the evening. All eyes. A stout man whom Nick had found in the library marveling at the books. Real books, he said, with actual pages, not just cardboard fronts, was discovered in a ditch with his car. He could not explain how he had gotten there. The parties were over. Gatsby stood alone at the end of his dock. Nick, from his small house, watched. Chapter 4. Gatsby's History, and Jordan's Story. Gatsby took Nick to lunch in New York. They drove in Gatsby's car, a death car, as it would later be called, enormous and cream-colored with a labyrinthine windshield, and a horn that could produce music. They drove through the Valley of Ashes, through Queens, into the city. Gatsby talked. He told Nick his history. He said, I am the son of some wealthy people in the Middle West, all dead now. I was educated at Oxford because all my ancestors have been educated there for many years. It is a family tradition." He said this with the specific quality of someone reciting prepared material, the slight stiffness of a story that has been told before, in exactly these words, in exactly this order. Nick was not entirely convinced. He asked, "What part of the Middle West?" Gatsby said, "San Francisco." "San Francisco is not the Middle West." This was the first visible crack in the performance, the first moment when the story and the teller showed the seam between them. Nick registered it, filed it, continued listening. Gatsby said he had collected jewels in the capitals of Europe, hunted big game, been a young tried to forget something sad that had happened to him a long time ago. He produced a medal from Montenegro. He produced an Oxford photograph, himself at Oxford, in cricketer's clothes, looking exactly like what he said he was and somehow not quite like it. He said, "I'll tell you God's truth. I come from a wealthy family, and I was very unkind to them, and they all died, and left me money." Then he said what he wanted from Nick. He said, "Miss Baker, we'll talk to you about something, a request I'm making of you. It's not very difficult. I want to arrange a meeting between you and a friend of mine." He said, "A woman." He said her name, Daisy. He wanted Nick to invite Daisy to tea. He wanted to come to the tea. He wanted to see her. That was what the parties had been about. That was what the mansion on West Egg had been about. He had bought the house specifically because it was across the bay from her dock. He had thrown parties every weekend because she might come, might hear the music, might drift across the water and find him. 5 years. He had been waiting 5 years. Jordan told Nick the rest of the story. Jordan had known Daisy before the war, had known her in Louisville, where Daisy had been the most popular girl in the city, and where Gatsby had been an officer, a young military officer who had appeared in the orbit of Daisy's social world, and had fallen in love with her, with the specific totality of a young man who has had no practice in partial feelings. They had been in love. Daisy had loved him back, or had loved the particular feeling of being loved by him, which is sometimes the same thing and sometimes not. She had almost waited for him when he went to war. She had gotten a letter from him the night before she married Tom Buchanan, and had drunk herself insensible, and had held the letter in the bath, and had said she had changed her mind. In the morning she married Tom. She had been happy enough. Tom was rich and certain, and the future he offered was a specific and comprehensible one. Gatsby's future had been theoretical, the future of a young officer going to war without money and with nothing but ability and intention to recommend him. After the war, Gatsby had not come to her. He had not come to her because he had nothing yet. He had spent the years since making himself into something, into the man with the mansion and the parties, and the car and the shirts from England, into J. Gatsby, into the person who could stand across the bay from Daisy's green light, and be worthy of reaching toward it. He had made himself for her. All of it, the money, the parties, the mansion, the green light, was for her. Nick understood this. He understood it with the specific mixture of admiration and unease that Gatsby consistently produced in him, the admiration for the scale of the intention, the unease about the nature of it, the sense that something in Gatsby's relationship to reality was slightly off in a way that had enormous consequences. He arranged the tea. Episode transition. You have reached the end of episode 2 of The Great Gatsby, by F. Scott Fitzgerald. Gatsby has been met, his history told, his purpose revealed. In episode 3, the center of the novel, the tea happens. Gatsby sees Daisy for the first time in 5 years. And in the aftermath of the reunion, Gatsby shows Nick what he has built, and tells him what he believes, that you can repeat the past, that you can go back, that the green light is reachable. Nick is not sure this is true. Episode 3 is available next week. Subscribe to Around the World Lit Audio so you never miss a chapter. A new episode arrives every week.